I've been watching a lot of mediocre to average films lately, so I thought I'd compile a quick review of all of them in one place. 'Tis the season to be spooky and indulge in our primal bloodlust, so why not pop on a flick full of murder and the macabre? Our first cab off the rank is Azrael, starring Scream Queen Samara Weaving in a role which covers her in blood and yet always ensures her hair still looks fabulous. It tells the tale of 24 hours in a post-rapture hell on earth. Our hero Azrael is kidnapped and separated from her boyfriend by members of a bizarre cult who sacrifice people to the Burned Ones, zombie vampire beings which now roam the earth. Azrael is hunted at first and eventually becomes Hunter in this by-the-book survival horror flick, which was pretty good fun. Weaving is always game for just about anything it seems, and so is a reliable actor to cast in a horror film. Everyone else involved is pretty generic, but then since the story contains next to no dialogue, motivations are elemental. The direction from E.L. Katz was solid if indecisive. There are several sequences where he could have made one setup and held the camera for 10 seconds on a well-composed shot, but instead opts to cut together 3 or 4 shots. I think this approach is born from insecurity or uncertainty as to what one should do, and it really hurts the film. The writing from Simon Barrett was solid, though we have one heck of a slapdash finale. Our heroine is suddenly Rambo, and then Rosemary's babying her way to the credits as if Barrett just whipped out a quick finish to ensure end of job on the script. There's very little setup for that payoff, and so it doesn't come across as earned. Next we have Hellboy the Crooked Man, a comic book movie made with a $20 million budget. Hellboy creator Mike Mignola co-wrote the script, and there are several nice touches which make the picture feel like a comic book. Our story follows Hellboy and BPRD rookie Bobby Joe Song as they face down the sinister Crooked Man in the Appalachian Mountains. There are witches, zombies, demons, and even the devil himself to fear in these backwoods. It's fun stuff and perfect for Halloween given its unashamedly sincere approach to the supernatural. Unfortunately, this is a film which needs about 10 minutes chopped off its runtime and probably another 10 million added to its budget. The CGI is so-so, and the fight scenes rely far too heavily on a jittery camera and schizophrenic editing to make it appear kinetic. Director Brian Taylor does everything he can to make the picture sing, and while I'm sure fans of Crank will want to see him cook, there's very little on display that makes for a cult classic. It's a fun film though, with a few highlights, most notably from Jack Kesy as Hellboy. I enjoyed his one-liners and gruff demeanour, no more or less than Perlman and Harbour. It really is a case here though of telling a story which was too big for the resources at hand. It's What's Inside isn't a horror film in the blood and gore sense of the word, but it is horrific in the Black Mirror sense. A tale about friends reuniting before a wedding who play a game in which they literally swapped bodies, thanks to a contraption their black sheep of a friend has invented. When 2 of the players die suddenly in the wrong bodies, the rest of the group are left with some tough choices to be made. It's What's Inside is made with a lot of panache. The camera is constantly roving about a neon-lit house. Characters speak a mile a minute with oodles of fun dialogue. Just about every visual trick you can imagine is thrown at the audience, as this is clearly a film which wants to leave an indelible mark. And for the most part, it works, thanks largely to a strong third act which sticks the landing. You'll walk away having laughed and been surprised by the twists and turns, which ultimately makes for a good experience. To get there requires you to walk through a rather tedious first and second act, which involves relationship drama you won't care about, and facile insights amongst fake friends. Nevertheless, director and writer Greg Jardin should receive praise for having crafted a big swing, creatively original and bombastic debut feature film. Salem's Lot is the horror equivalent of the Justice League for 2024, a much longer film condensed into a 2-hour runtime which just needs more time to breathe. For reasons which are beyond me, the film isn't a 3.5-hour epic or split into 2 parts. Instead, we have a solidly crafted first act, and then a race to the finish line second and third, which fails on all fronts. It becomes laughable at times because of how poorly the latter part of the film stitches together. Now, I can't tell if this was planned from the jump or forced upon the team, but in either case, it does not work. Everything is unearned and unbelievable because of these pacing issues. Our story follows the people of Jerusalem's lot as they're invaded by the evil vampire Barlow. He slowly transforms the town into his image, and a small group of unlikely heroes led by an affable writer and a precocious child must save the day. This is an easy layup Stephen King story, but because of poor execution it falls flat. There are moments though, just a few moments, where you can see something interesting. Long takes of characters in silhouette, steadicam shots that were crisp and heightened tension, character interactions which felt natural and made me love these make-believe people, little moments that suggested this could have been a good movie with a bit more care. Hold Your Breath is probably the biggest disappointment out of the lot. It's solidly crafted, but there's a spark missing which just makes the whole thing feel like a chore. The story follows Margaret Bellham and her daughters as they work to survive during the Oklahoma Dust Bowl of the 1930s. They're alone in the middle of an apocalyptic landscape and begin to be haunted by a sinister force. This insidious presence slowly begins to turn Margaret's mind upside down and inside out. Or, as is to be expected with such movies, maybe her madness is a product of grief from a lost loved one and constant nightmares. Either way, now isn't a good time to be alone on the farm with Mother Dearest. Sarah Paulson is strong as usual and carries the film on her shoulders. Ebon Moss-Baccarat is good as well, though this is really Paulson's show and she owns the limelight. Unfortunately, as I mentioned, it never really clicked for me. It was simply a movie and not once did I lean in and become particularly invested. I can't even fault the film as it's carefully made and well thought out as far as horror movies are concerned. It just didn't sing though. So that's that on the horror run I've had of late. I think It's What's Inside is probably the highlight of the lot thanks to its enthusiastic embrace of creative madness. Thanks for watching.
Mama, were you outside all night?
My advice, say keep the house sealed best you can. Relax. You're taking your sleeping aid?
Any word on that drifter? What if it happens again?
These girls are lucky to have you.